did. It was the second week response submission.
Okay.
That maybe it didn't go through.
Okay, I don't think it did.
Okay, because I just opened it up.
Yeah.
Do you want me to maybe email that to you?
That would be just fine.
Perfect. Thank you.
You would think something you dropped off, no?
Right.
Okay, I'm running announcements through one time so we can get started right away tonight. Again, you're going to be playing a game with somebody, so you're going to want to be close enough to that somebody that you don't have to shout to get to them. You may be playing with the two people in front of you, because 3 works okay. Okay, so you can just reach forward with your clicker or so forth in between, so that will work. We're going to talk about the exam that we're going to be taking the next time we're together. I do want to remind you that I am recording at this time, and that we do have some people home with the strep, and we're glad that they aren't infecting us here tonight. So, but just remember that this is going up online. Those are extra, so you can look at your name to see the. You don't want any of them. You
Number
want
13.
That's what you're looking for. There's little 13 in the corner there. Oh, 13's right here. It must have fallen here.
Oh, okay, yeah, keep the extra.
There you go for next time.
Thank you.
We'll talk about leadership belief plan, the next paper, because the next time we meet will be the night that we're hoping to have a draft in from you. The Blackboard session on culture is up and ready to go, so you may do an inclusion on the test, so you will want to do that next online on culture before you come for the test next time. Tonight I'm going to be lecturing a bit off the book. So far we've been doing most of the lessons kind of match, you know, it's like read the page, I talk about it, you know, that type of thing. I'm going to be a little bit off of that because I'm talking specifically out of a framework of emotional intelligence. And that's going to happen more as as the weeks go along, that I'm going to be using the topic of the chapter you're reading, but I'm going to assume that you're reading that chapter and making sense of it, bringing any questions forward with that. Because we're going to be also kind of be taking a left turn from having theory after theory after theory after theory, which is what we've kind of been having in all of these lessons so far. The test is over those theories. Because there are, you know, can you tell me about herd theory? Can you tell me about Locke's goal setting theory? Can you explain House's path goal theory to me? I mean, I'm just saying them out fast. I mean, is there a picture of something in your head, or are you going, yeah, we read about that? What I'm wanting is in this first test is going to be multiple choice and matching and those kinds of things, because I'm at recall level. And so in your handouts tonight, you're going to see a page that says Exam 1 Review. It's a single page. It's not stapled to anything else. And on that, I went through what I'm expecting. I'm not promising you that every single word ever is on there, but you'll be awfully close if you could go down that list and do these things. If you could define those words, if you can explain them, and we're going to practice applying them, we're going to be practicing multiple choices, those types of things. I do not want people to become overly fearful of a test, but I have to tell you, there's a test at the end of this thing called a praxis test that is multiple choice, and so there is times to come back and revisit good test wiseness and test-taking skills, because we constantly, if you go get a driver's license, you have to take a multiple choice test on the rules, because they want to know that you have the recall level. This is the last time in this class that you will have that kind of a test, because truly to be able to recall it and not use it isn't very much use in life. And so from then on, all of the things are like case studies or applying these, but it's the same theories we're using and learning now that you will, at the end of the class and at the end of the degree, those same theories will be coming back. And I don't want people to live on a diet of X and Y and Maslow, because that's the ones that I get. If I just say, talk to me about some theories, those are the two that come back at me. And to me, things like Hershey and Blanchard on how my followers are or something about looking at conflict theory is one of the things that's coming up. And there's 5 stages of conflict, and I think, oh my gosh, that's a latent conflict. Those words do come to my mind because it helps separate me from the stress of the moment and helps make me make sense of what's happening. And so when I start thinking to myself about willing and able, it's not like you hate me or you aren't listening to me or I'm not a very good leader or you're not a very good follower. It's I'm going to solve this thing, and I'm going to help use that language of the theory in my head to help channel myself into a place where I'm not just reacting. It also makes a difference within the degree that you're able to use some of these theories to explain and predict, right? Explain why you're doing what you're doing. If you can talk about things like hygiene factors and say, I'm not just going to be giving them pencils and candy. That's not how I'm going to motivate people, because that's just a hygiene factor. That keeps you from being dissatisfied. So that's what the purpose is behind giving you this kind of a test at this time in your life where you think you're past doing truths and falses and those types of things. I also wanted to give you 2 updates that are on Blackboard for tonight. One is there is a link to the CTLLE conference. That's the Curriculum Teaching, Learning, Leading in Education Conference. It is held here at the Community Engagement Center right across campus on November 8th. For the cost of $40, which includes snacks and supper, you may come and see some of the faculty across campus from other surrounding campuses and also practitioners. They're going to be talking on everything from ACT, how that's happening in the state, to research that they've been doing on a dissertation, to all different types of things. And my bonus to you is if you are having to miss classes and missing points for different things along the line, that's one way you could earn yourself back 2 points, is if you're available to come that evening and share with us. So the registration is on tonight's Blackboard, and it's the CTLLE conference, and it is a combination between the College of Education and Phi Delta Kappa, which is the Education Honorary. It also on that page talks to you about Phi Delta Kappa. That is a great networking opportunity for people that are moving into educational leadership, and it is also a great place. You can see what the upcoming meetings have to offer for you as well. Finally, before we get started with our game, your next piece of your paper is coming out. Now, I was not Santa Claus in evaluating this first one through because I wanted more of, less than, or different. I wanted you to know now instead of at the end, because in this class, I want to talk specifically about two types of writing. What you were evaluated on your leadership and action is reflective writing. So many of you wrote really beautiful explanations of the activity, and then you hooked it to some theories, and I learned a whole lot about somebody that you interviewed or watched and very little about you. A reflective paper always comes back, and your voice comes through this. I believe this too. This is important to me. I asked this question because it was important to me because, you know, that threads through. So now you've got this nice polished piece, and you may open that piece up to continue to write for the next paper. Because the hardest thing to write on in the world is a blank piece of paper. So you already got this nice piece that's got really good points with it. You may continue that, what you were writing about, and now switch to the new set of directions, which are, tell us about your leadership beliefs. What you've been taking surveys, you've been reading, you've been thinking through who you are as a leader. Now you're going to articulate that. So it's a little bit like my philosophy of educational leadership and who I am as an educational leader. It also has a piece with, if these are my strengths and these are my beliefs, then where do I need to go to become the leader I want to be? And it doesn't mean I want to someday be the superintendent of schools of the Nebraska City Public Schools. That's not the kind of plan I'm looking for. But how are you going to be different in 3 to 5 years? And what are you going to do to make that difference instead of just let things happen to you? You know, are you going to attend conferences like the CTLLE conference? Are you going to try to be more outgoing in faculty meetings? You know, what are the things that you're going to be doing to do that? So you may do it in two entirely different sections. That leadership and action is A, and then we turn the page in. Now we're doing beliefs, and it's B, and plan is C, and so they can all be segments. But many of you have written enough in that leadership and action about yourself that you can use that to bridge the beginning of this next thing about who I am as a leader that will go right into, so that this is who I am as a leader, this is what I'm going to do. Okay? And you can make it all one big thing. I will ask for all the points when you turn it in, all the pieces. I'm going to ask for leadership and action to come back two. I want it to see it all as one because it gives me a focus. This is your leadership plan. And so I would like to read, even though you won't get regraded on the first part, I would like to see that as well. So when you're creating it, that's why I'm saying it, create it as one big document. Even if it's got 3 different titles on 3 different pieces of paper, turn it in as one assignment. If you have questions along the way with it, give me a call. A call is going to be faster than an email with what's happening in education land right now. And so, you can always try to email me. Except for emergencies, I don't answer emails on the weekends. I model what I expect school leaders to do, and I do not expect school leaders to be at the beck and call 24/7, and so I am not either. So if you're waiting sometimes, and you will have more trouble if it's an emergency. Email me on the weekend, but if it's not, wait and call me or email me on Monday because you're going to get a faster answer that way. Because I'll probably look at my phone on Sunday afternoon, and I'm out at the park or something. You're probably not going to get an answer, and by Monday, there's 6 other messages that are now buried yours. So I'm trying to model what I expect of my school leaders. So we are going to play a flicker game right now. And I've lost it. I got to go back to it. I have made some review questions that are not questions on the test. So if you panic that you miss every one of these, that's good because they're not questions on the test. But my role as an educator is I believe that my role is to afflict comfortable. People go, oh, I read this stuff. I know I read. So I made them tricky on purpose. And we're not going to tell anybody. I'm going to scan because I'm going to see how much smarter you are 2 weeks from now than you are right now. But here's your role. You're going to be playing against the person that's on your team. So you're just going to put tally marks on a piece of scratch paper. At the end of the night, whichever team member ends up with a higher score, they may come up and get 2 prizes from the prize bag. Those that get the consolation prize get one. Okay. So we're going to try a few of these questions, and we'll see if I'm ready to go with this thing here. I should be on live view. Okay. All right. You should see on the right-hand side when your card has been scanned, then you can put it back down because right now I haven't scanned anybody. Authority is leadership that is given by A, B, C, or D. Show me when you're ready. And like I said, as you start to see a check mark by your name, that means I've got it. Who haven't I got? I'm still looking to see. Everybody? Anybody I'm waiting on? Okay, authority is different than a lot of things that people think about. When I think about an authority figure, there's somebody that's in charge, right? But the true definition of authority is given the power from the followers. So the correct answer was A. Okay, correct answer was A. So if you didn't know that, that's a definition that you need to study before we go too much farther. By the way, we had a 38% people that knew that or guessed it correctly. Okay, here we go.
And do you see our scores?
Yes, I do. I'm scanning. This is a feel-good question.
I don't remember. It was that or a trick.
It's not a trick question.
Well, we'll get it higher than 38%.
Yeah, let's see how we did. I think I got 100%. See, now everybody's got a good mark on the, but you know what? 6 weeks ago, we probably would have had some that, okay, here we go, next. Let's do this one. Okay. Give me a guess. Again, if everybody got all of them, if I did all feel-good questions, you wouldn't go home and study because you felt so good. Yeah, I'm watching I'm looking at my phone here, watching cards, then, because you're watching to see when I catch it. So you're holding on if I'm not catching it. All right. All right. Okay. Leadership trait theory is good for self-awareness. It teaches you about yourself that, if you think about, do I have good integrity? Do I follow through with what I'm doing? But in training others to say, oh, here's the 13 ways to be a good leader, not so much. So it is not good for training others. So there we go. So my correct answer was 31% said it was true. And it was. Here we go. All right, scanning. If you put your card down, then I won't keep trying to scan you because I'm not paying attention to whether I've already scanned you or not. I'm just looking at cards as I'm going around. Okay. What is the difference between those that makes it, that tells you where the answer is? The principal chose, didn't they? So if it was democratic, you would say the principal asked, invited, those types of things. If it was laissez-faire, we probably wouldn't have a task force.
Well,
You know, or there, you know,
would democratic be the principal ask the faculty to choose people?
that would be
And
democratic
laissez-faire
also.
would be the principal said, we'd like some volunteers,
Possibly.
possibly.
That's a good way of doing it as well. Again, everything's in perception, and so all of those works. Okay, let's do just two more. Okay.
I did,
All right, I'm ready to stand. Okay, I'm still, as I see cards, I think I haven't caught you up there. All right. That's the one where there was like 3 circles and the different sizes of the circles. If we all had the same ones, then we would all care about the same things. And obviously, some of us care more about power than others. And some of us worry about whether people like us more than, that's what motivates us. So they are not balanced. Now we're going to pick up and continue this later on tonight because I have some questions on tonight's work as well. So don't put your clicker completely away, but we're going to put it away for a while and talk about emotional intelligence. Okay? Now the reason I went through that little kind of see that it's recall level questions. What you do not need to do is go, okay, the 3 things in McClellan are power, affiliation, and what? Because the first thing you're going to get is a list that says power, affiliation, and what is the what anyway, by the way, you know? Achievement. You know, I'm going to win, you know, it's the other one. And so those will be on one side, and on the other side will be a list of all the different theories. And you go, oh, that's McClellan's, okay? So it isn't like, what are the 5 kinds of power? The 5 kinds of power will be listed over there. Your job is to match that up to French and Raven's 5 kinds of power, okay? It's a matching. I don't want people to have to memorize all the little minutia of the things. I'm not going to say, which theory was McClellan's, you know? I don't care. I mean, nobody's going to go, oh, wow, you know. But sometimes it helps when I say Maslow, people are going, I see the light bulb going on. I see that you know what I'm talking about with actually saying Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know. So I give it all to you. The reason we do that matching on the front is because then you've got them all. So that when you get to these other types of questions, you can go, okay, I know it's coercive, and you can go back and look and use those keys that you put together on the front page to figure out. We're going to talk about the other type of questions, however. Besides the multiple choice, there are the beginnings of figuring out how to explain and how to predict in a situation based on the theories you know. And I asked you to do this in the motivation pages, where you take something like erg theory. Tell me, erg is existence and relationship and growth. Okay, so if I'm going to use that, I got this story up here, and it's one of the ones that was in the handout about Arthur. And I want to explain what's going on with Arthur. I'm going to give you a second to read about Arthur, and we're going to explain what's happening with him based on those 3 things. His need for existence, his need for relationship, and his need for growth. What's happening to him? Not what should, but what right now is happening. Tell me about his motive. Is he going to be motivated by existence type of things? Give me thumbs up, kind of thumbs down. Is that going to motivate him? I'm seeing thumbs down. Why do you think that he's not worried about existence? What's it say?
He has money.
He has money. He's not worried about supporting a family. It's not about, some of the other things are what gets him excited. Doesn't mean that he doesn't love people. He's a great teacher. Okay? It's just not motivating him in this instant. That doesn't mean he's a cold, non-caring person. Okay? All right, so let's talk about relationships then. Okay? Relationships had to be important to him to be a good teacher at some level. Now, some teachers get real excited about the content more so than the relationship they have with students, but they also relate to students through the content. So someplace there's relationships in this guy. Is that what's happening here? Is that what's making his motivation go up or down? Is that the one? Not so much, is it? Where's the problem? It's in growth. How would you say that he's having a problem in growth? What's the lack of motivation that you see there? He doesn't feel, this new thing isn't challenging to him. Now the other people say, wait a minute, he just got a promotion. That's growth. But when he got it, so it looks like he doesn't want it. All right, so now we're going to predict based on that. Since I've decided that that the problem is in G, in growth, if I'm going to help him motivate himself to do better, it's not going to be a big relationship. Let's get together with all the other curriculum supervisors and have a big party and talk about, that's not what his trouble is. What's his trouble? He doesn't feel challenged. So how is he going to challenge himself? How would you as the leader challenge him? And you can think of all kinds of different things that you could challenge somebody extrinsically, intrinsically. Just even bringing it to their awareness that they need to find the new challenge and need to have the new thing that they're reaching for, sometimes is all that it takes. Okay, let's flip this now. Same story, so you don't have to read it again. Okay, let's look at one of these. Now I'm going to say, you know what? I don't really think this is about motivation. I think this is about what I as the leader need to do. So I'm going to do Hershey and Blanchard with this. And I'm going to say, is this guy willing and is he able to do the job that I've hired him to do? Is he able to do it? Some are going to say yes and some are going to say no. I'll tell you that right now. Tell me, if you think he's able to do the job, what makes you think he's able to do that job?
Says Arthur is able to do a good job.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, if he's diligent, he's able to.
Okay, but even if it didn't say that sentence, what makes you think he's able to do it? He was a good teacher. We make that mistake all the time. You were good at your old job, so you're going to be good at this new job. Different job, different skill set. Okay, so if I'm saying he is able to do it, is he willing to do it? Is that the problem? Is he not willing to do the job? Is he coming going, I don't want to do this job. Don't make me do this. He's kind of lost in the willing part of it, isn't he? So, if he's willing and able, it says delegate. But delegate doesn't mean walk away and just let him do it. Delegate doesn't seem to be helping me very much. So I'm going to step back and say, you know what? There is a problem with willing, and it's not that he doesn't want to do the job. It's just he can't find what doing the job is. So once again, I'm going to now go back in my words in Hershey and Blanchard and say, coaching a bit, maybe participating, depending on where I'm thinking, where he's landing with that able thing. He's able to do a good job, but is he able to do this job? And if I think that that's the problem, he can't see what his new challenge is, because if he understood the job of a curriculum supervisor is challenging. That starts to talk to me about my role. Am I going to coach him? Am I going to participate with him? What am I going to do to help him be better at what I've hired him to do? Okay, you will have some of these. They're just little stories like this. And the first thing you do is you're going to say, okay, I'm going to choose Maslow. If I'm going to choose Maslow, I'm not going to be talking about willing and able, am I? If I'm going to talk about Maslow, I'm going to be talking about things like self-actualization and
Esteem.
self-esteem and social relationships and safety and all of those things. Even if I don't know anything about Maslow, I'm certainly not going to choose that as the one I'm going to use. So that's why I'm giving you 3, is because one of those should feel more comfortable to you. Of those 3, if I were doing this, I would probably use Herzberg, because there's things in there that make his job more comfortable, but they aren't motivating him. And so I can talk about, yeah, he got a raise, he got a promotion, but he sees that as a hygiene factor. More money, more prestige. And he can't find his motivator. And we'll take the same story and we'll take it into another lens. Because that's a good thing to be able to do, is to say, okay, I'm going to look at this through what should the person do. I can look at it through what should I do. I can look at it through, I can then look through organizational lens, and I can take it to a conflict management place. And so being able to switch how you're making sense of what's happening in tough situations is a fabulous skill to have. It's one of the skills that an emotionally intelligent person has. Emotional intelligence, if you Google it, you will see zillions and zillions of hits for it. Everything from the military to Mary Kay Cosmetics to Walmart to working with preschool children has something to do with emotional intelligence. It's very popular. It was very controversial when it first started. And so you will oftentimes see this as EQ, because it was put in opposition to IQ. What people were looking at in their leaders was, here's this person that's really smart. They're really, really smart, but they're making really, really horrible decisions. Why? How can a smart person do these things? And then here's a person with good to average intelligence, and they're a fabulous leader. And I can't quite figure out how she does it. It's just like she's got this moxie of this right stuff that she kind of goes around, and because she's there, it's like, pixie dust just kind of, comes out magically around her, and everything's better because she's there. And so they wanted to find out what that pixie dust right stuff was. And they called it emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence comes out of the idea of, it's not what happens to you, but it's the attitude you take about it, that how you see the world is through a kind of a savvy, a kind of an understanding of yourself and those around you. And it colors and changes the attitude of how you react to the world. You see, we all have events happen to us that can be common. We're going to imagine right now somebody's out in the parking lot running around putting dents in our cars. And when we get out after class tonight, we're going to go up to our car, and there's going to be this really big, horrible dent in there, and we have no idea who that was. There's no camera to show us who that was. There would be here at UNO, but still, it's inconclusive. We can't tell who that person was. We all have the same event happen to us. We all have the dented car. We will react. Some of us will become very angry. Some of us will try to get that person, call the police, fingerprint this thing. We're going to get this person. Some will cry and call their people that they love and moan and groan. Some will be very proactive and say, I got insurance for this. We're going to, okay? We all will have. Now, emotional intelligence doesn't say that any of those are bad reactions. If somebody's standing there kicking their car and cursing, that's not necessarily a bad reaction to that, because they're venting and getting rid of some of that pain that they're feeling. Now, if 20 minutes later they're still doing that, then we got a problem. Or if they turn around and they start yelling at the next person, then they have a problem. But no emotion is good or bad. It's being able to put the right one in the right place. And what what is the difference with someone who has good emotional intelligence is in that little arrow that comes between the event and the emotion. And generally, it's just a flicker where you decide how you're going to react. Am I going to cry, yell, laugh, make a joke of it, call the police? What am I going to do? Because that's going to make a difference on how everything after that plays out. And an emotionally intelligent person uses that one little breath between the event and the emotion to make a wise choice. A wise choice might be crying, because you need to get rid of what's happening to you before you can turn and become a rational person again to take care of it. So it doesn't mean that emotionally intelligent people are always in control of themselves, but they're always aware, I'm not so out of control that I can't get myself back. You know, they use their emotions to help things get better. So if crying makes me feel better so that I can go forward and now solve what's going on, go ahead and cry. But then take the deep breath, start to make plans, do the things that are helpful to manage your emotions. The emotional intelligence person understands their own emotions, and they don't lie to themselves and say, I'm feeling great, everything's wonderful, when they're feeling really stressed. They recognize when they're feeling stressed. They recognize when they're not at their best. They don't pretend when they come to school sick that they're teaching at 100% capacity. You know, they don't lie to themselves about what's happening within them. How you think and how you talk to yourself about your feelings. It's that little voice in your head saying, oh, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't have said that. That was really stupid. Maybe if I say, you know, that little voice that's telling you, do, don't, stop, go, has been growing with you since birth. And it takes the cues from everything that's happened to you in the past and everything that's happening to you around you. And so sometimes you have to tell that little voice to say something different. We'll get to that. This is not part of emotional intelligence. This is another theory, and it's one of the on your list of important words, but I think it fits with what I'm talking about. If I went out to the parking lot and my car was dented and I was standing there with a group of children that I was responsible for, yelling and cursing is probably not one of my options anymore. Okay? I may feel like yelling and cursing. I feel angry. But on my face, I'm calm and cool, and I call the police, and I keep it together, because not only do I have to take care of my car, but I have to now take care of the children as well. What I just described was the difference between felt and displayed emotions. As a first-year teacher, it was probably the most shocking thing to myself that I could be totally angry about something that happened before I walked into the classroom, or totally frightened about how I wasn't prepared for what was happening, and I was playing it cool. And for the most part, even as a first-year teacher, I could display what a teacher face is supposed to look like. And what was just as shocking was I'd have this student that would be acting out, and I would go back to the faculty lounge and tell this funny story about this funny thing that happened. But in the class, I didn't go, ha, 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 that was really funny. I'm like, get back to work. And inside, I'm laughing. Because I don't want more funny. That's not my role as a teacher. My role is stay on task. So felt emotions are the ones that the emotional intelligent person knows they have. But sometimes they have to display something else. And sometimes they're required to display something else. Emotional labor is where you're required to display something different than what you're feeling. Imagine if you went into the airport the next time and got on the plane, and as you walk in, the pilot's going, oh, brother, I can't, okay? immediately, you have lost faith in, and maybe they're talking about their dog got, let out and they're having to go home, they're worried about their dog. But now you're worried about your flight. So what does the pilot say? Good evening, welcome to, our time is, the voice is just staying right in there. They're going to display leadership, I'm in control, everything's okay to everybody that's there, no matter whether they're worried about their dog at home or not. Because if they lose it in front of the passengers, it will be bad for the passengers, but it will also be bad for their employment. It's like the clerk that says, have a nice day, they always say that, right? They're checking you out. Here's your receipt, have a nice day. Do you really think they really want you to really have a nice day? Sometimes you do. Because they're good at displaying that. They probably don't care whether you have a nice day or not, but they're required by their job to say that. All right, so you're going to think of a time at work when you displayed emotion that was the opposite of what you felt. So it could be, I felt scared and I acted calm. I felt mad and I acted happy. Opposite feeling of what you actually displayed. Why was it necessary to do that? And by doing something different than what you really felt, did that bother you in any way? Did it help you in any way? Did it affect you in any way? You have about a 90-second window to tell your story before your partner's going to say it. I'm going to start with the person who is closest to this side of the room. They're going to have 90 seconds to tell their story. And then I'm going to say switch. The other person will tell you, you guys are going to have to do it faster than that. Okay, ready? Person on this side, tell us this emotionally laborious story.
I didn't understand what he was like funny or if he was serious. And so I don't know, I just smiled and went on. But later on, there's another person that I asked them their perception of it. So I don't know, but that was an example of, in that situation, you thought, well, was I sure her attention to her? I just smiled and
Okay, the next 10 seconds you need to switch. You got 10 seconds to finish up. And the second person's going to tell their 90-second story.
Probably been able to.
Hey, 10 seconds, you're going to wind this last story up. No. I always hear fragments because I'm listening to this And they're usually sad or angry or devastating, or there's something that's horrible in this story, because those things linger with us. You know, a lot of people don't talk about the day they got the highest test score in the class when they were in junior in high school, or the day that they got picked to be on the team, or those kinds of things. Those also, you can be the person that got picked to be on the team, but your best friend didn't, so you couldn't go, wah! But we don't remember those as well. When we look back and try to pull those things out of our memory, it's the ones that were stressful for us. That's why I have this next question. How often do you feel conflict between what you display and what you're really feeling? Because it is corrosive. It is corrosive to you to have to hold back and not communicate what it is you are really feeling. And if that's a day by day by day, I mean, that's the reason why they have counselors for counselors. You know, one of the first things when you're a counselor is you get a counselor, because you are constantly have to say, it's okay, when they're hurting and you're hurting. You know, that's why they work so hard with first responders, is because they have to be okay in situations that aren't. And over time, that becomes very, very difficult to deal with. So my question is, if that is true of you, and you are in a position where you constantly are feeling like you're having to be okay, and it's not, or you have to be, I'm in charge, and you're not feeling it, it's time to think about what your job is and where other places could be more. Life is too short to spend it in something that is tearing you inside up, because it has physical ramifications, it has emotional ones, it has mental ones, and it will not. You may not realize it, but you may go home and yell at the dog for something the dog didn't really do, because you've been so bottling that up so long during your day. So that leads right into another term that talks about this kind of distress. Okay, this is called cognitive. Tell me what cognitive makes you think of. Cognitive has something to do with your brain thinking, right? And dissonance, and I've got some music teachers in here. Dissonance is like if you took your hands on the piano and just went, right? That's dissonance. Consonance is like playing melodies and chords and things all fit. Dissonance, the notes are not fitting with one another. It's a train wreck of sound, okay? So cognitive in your head, dissonance that's not fitting together. Cognitive dissonance is where you have two values that do not fit with one another, and you have to choose between two things that you really believe in or don't believe in, or what you have to do and what you really believe in are very different. I felt cognitive dissonance when I had to go into a faculty meeting and say, we are now all going to do this kind of XYZ report for the state or whatever. And I was against whatever that report was. I didn't believe in what that thing was, but it was my role to tell from the central office to the faculty what we were going to do. And if I did it in all right, everybody, I really don't believe in this. This is what we're going to do. I would get compliance maybe, but I was setting them up for failure as well. And yet if I went in, hey everybody, this is great, let's do this thing, they think I was a fool because they knew I didn't like it and they knew they didn't like it. So here I am in between those things, and how do I make that work? People have constant dissonance in class all the time. I got a sick child that's home, but I have to be in class because I got to turn my paper in. So what do? I have a choice. I can change and not come to class and say, I can turn the paper in late, she won't care. I can come to class, child's going to sleep anyway, they're not feeling very good, they'll take a nap while I'm gone. I can split. I can come to class, turn my paper in, and leave early. You know, I have really 4 choices. I can stop the behavior, I can change my attitude, I can decide it's not important. Oh well. Or I can rationalize with myself. See, there's a good reason why I did what I did. If you're going to change your behavior or change your attitude, which do you think that you would do more quickly? The attitude or behavior? It's easier to change your attitude. People do what they're going to do. I know I'm on a diet, but I'm going to eat the piece of cake anyway. It wasn't so important. I'll diet tomorrow. Well, at least cake has some nutrition in it.
Does it?
Well,
It
it has eggs and flour.
If you have carrot cake, it's
And if it's really dark chocolate, that's kind of good for me too. And it's better than, rationalizing. Being aware of when consonant dissonance is happening to you. And not just letting you excuse yourself. Saying, okay, I am going to go to class with a sick child. I am going to feel bad in class about that. This is how I'm going to handle it, rather than pretending something else is happening, is a sign of emotional intelligence. So, what emotional intelligence theory says is you use your brain to help direct your heart, your feelings. You step back and you look at it and you analyze, I'm feeling pretty guilty about leaving my kid here tonight. Or I am really angry about that dent in my car, but I'm able to not just yell and curse about it, I'm able to think about it and use my brain to figure out which way of acting, which way of feeling, which way of believing is going to get me what I need and what I want. You also use your heart to direct your brain. When you say, I am going to stay home tonight, and all of a sudden it doesn't feel right. You listen to your feelings and say, why is that not feeling right? And is there some way I can handle that? And so I had people emailing me today saying, I am really sick. How soon are you going to have the video up online for me? What were they doing? They were saying, I'm going to take care of myself because that's the smart thing to do, and not give them the germs. That's the smart thing to do. But I will take care of my guiltiness by watching the video this weekend. There, in the article that you had from Goldman, that there's 5 pieces to emotional intelligence, but he's kind of moved into kind of a 4. Everything in this class has 4 boxes in it. I don't know. We should call this the 4-box class. But anyway, in emotional intelligence, there are 2, and I think you have this on your notes, and this might be one you want to write on. There are 2 columns. The first one is yourself, and the second one is others. Because the most important sentence of this whole night is, emotional intelligence means I can control myself. I can control myself. Doesn't mean I will control myself, but I can control myself. And I can influence others. People with poor emotional intelligence say, I can control others. If your mindset is I can control others, then you believe that you have that power and that ability to actually make things occur or not occur. You're taking notes right now because I said, hey, you better write this down. But if you were sitting there reading your emails, I wouldn't be stopping you. You're the one that decided to actually do this. I influenced you by saying, hey, this is important. This is the most important thing I'm saying to them. I influenced you. But I didn't control you to do that. Okay? But I can control myself, and I'm not going to kid myself that if I eat the piece of chocolate cake, or whatever those things are, I'm not going to kid myself that somebody else made me do it. We even have people that are in the military who say, I was ordered to do this thing that was very horrendous. And I did this horrendous thing because I was ordered to. I was controlled. And they end up in prison because in the end, the control is at the individual, not someone else. You could have said, questioned the order, you could have not done the horrendous thing. Everyone has the ability, the capacity for self-control. Now, on the opposite side going down, the first part of it is that you have self-awareness, and that's what I've been talking quite a bit about. You also have self-control. Self-awareness and self-control are these first two parts. You also have awareness of other people, and that word is empathy. I understand what's going on around me. It's not sympathy, like I cry when you're crying. It's empathy. I understand when I see stress. I get it when people are unhappy and why and so forth. And then the action to that are social skills. Actual interpersonal skills that I can use to influence others that you and I do on a regular basis, but if we're out there looking for it, we can even do it better. That's the nice thing about emotional intelligence. We all have some, and we all can have more. So self-awareness is being able to know yourself, know your own thoughts and feelings honestly and neutrally. You don't say, oh, I'm a horrible person because of this. I had a student once that she was very self-aware, but every time she did anything that she didn't approve of herself doing, she would punish herself by saying, I'm a bad person, I'm a bad person. She'd make herself right over and over as her own punishment, like parents often do. She was her own parent inside of her head. And I couldn't get her to stop it. I mean, it was such a habit ingrained in her. But what I did get her to start to do was to say, whenever you do that, start with the words next time. So at least you're planning on the positive next time instead of saying, I was bad, I was bad, I was bad. You're going to say, next time I'm good, next time I'm good, next time I'm good. I mean, at least then you're going to start to be more neutral and not be blaming yourself for things that are going on. Okay? The problem with this self-awareness thing is the people that are worst at it think they're really good. Gilbert's great. The cow is the supervisor. I don't know why, but the cow is the supervisor. And he says, I overcame a lot of bias against cows to get this job. People that think a cow with strong leadership skills is a jerk. Is that what you think, Baldy? Huh? Do you? Okay. He was able to understand himself how others were reacting to him when it hurt his feelings, but he could just turn right around and name call. Just if you call him on that, he would say, I am strong-minded, I speak my mind, I am able to overcome these prejudices against me, and he's weak if he's not able to do the same thing that I can do. I was able to overcome this name calling. So here's the sad thing. If you mark yourself and say, I've got really great emotional intelligence, you either do or you're really horrible and you don't get it. So most of us say, I'm okay. I can get better. Those that think they've got it all solved are probably a little bit short-sighted because of this. This is one of the reasons. This is the emotional continuum that goes from happiness, extreme joy, over to extreme, I lost my last word off of there. 1, 2, 3, no, the dots are just off, because I would say there's 6 words, 6 dots. Okay, there's 6 pictures. I went on the internet and I Googled images for these emotions. Let's see how well, you can see these people up here. I know some of them are shadowy in this picture here, but help me out. Can you tell me one of those people what they're feeling and name their emotion? The lady in the top middle, what is she?
Happy.
She's happy? We agree on that? Okay. Okay, how about,
That lady's disgusted.
The bottom right?
He's angry.
Bottom right is.
the bottom right, surprised? Okay.
Oh, that one.
Bottom center
This
is
one's
angry.
angry.
Bottom center is angry. Are you sure he's angry? How do you know he's not disgusted?
Maybe disgusted.
No, she's disgusted.
Oh, you think the lady in the top left
Yeah,
is
she was
disgusted?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And
Or
so,
she's scared. One of those.
but she might be, yeah, she might be scared. Although, you know what, that
I
guy
can't
in the
see
bottom
that.
right might be showing fear.
Yeah.
Or what about the little boy with his arms up in the air? What's he?
Sad.
Okay, you think he's
Sad.
sad?
Yeah.
I can't see
Okay.
that one.
I can't quite
Mhm.
see him, but he's standing next to a big swimming pool.
He's
So,
surprised.
I'm going to tell you right now, he's looking at a great big deep swimming pool. So what do you suppose is in his eyes? He's got some fear. The farther away things are from each other, nobody said the happy person was disgusted. Nobody said the surprised person was angry. The things that are far apart from each other, we can read. There are some people that have difficulty reading emotions. But people that are good at it can read them. But you know what happens when they get next to each other? And we're talking about self. We very often displace these. Very often, when you're working with somebody that's going through grief and they're telling you how sad they are, what you really hear and watching their body language is they're angry. And they aren't recognizing the anger. Or someone who's saying, I am so surprised, I'm so surprised, and what they're really covering up is there's some fear there too. And so, the closer those things get together on the continuum, the easier it is to misname them. And what we don't want to do is name someone as angry when really what they are is sad. We're gonna play the interpersonal game wrong with them. So how do we? And I can't ask these people. Do I go up and say, "Are you happy?" I've just named the feeling for them. Now there's some children that you're working with children, and some adults that you want to name an emotion. But generally, you aren't going to ask this little boy, "Are you afraid?" Because if he wasn't, now he is. But you have that conversation with that person to try to understand the feeling, because sometimes a snapshot doesn't do it, and sometimes it doesn't do it for yourself either. Let's see how we did. So, self-awareness is being conscious of yourself, but it's not being self-conscious. You know, it's not being, it's not analyzing myself. Well, why did you say that, Kay? What possessed you to say that, you know? It's not blaming. It's not trying to say whose fault is it in this thing. And it's not self-critical. Boy, you are so wishy-washy. If you just stand on your own 2 feet and tell people what you really thought, you wouldn't be putting up with this. You know, that's not good self-awareness. Those are unproductive ways. What it is acknowledging your strengths. I'm good at this. I understand that. I noticed this about myself. And some of this stuff I got to work on. But I'm not blaming myself. I'm not good at it yet. And I can work on it and get better at it. Using your strengths to solve problems means that we all won't solve the same problem. We all got a dented car out there. We're not all going to solve it the same way. I may call somebody to pick me up and then have the campus security work on things. You may actually have the ability to go and take the car to the shop and work on it yourself, you know. We always solve the problems in different ways, and we solve them based on our strengths. If I don't know how to fix a car, I'm not going to go out there and start to fix that dent. So it comes to this term. Equa sounds like the word equal. Finality has a word in it we recognize. Final. Equal endings. There is no one best way to solve a problem. That comes out of that situational leadership too, doesn't it? There is no one best way to solve a problem. You have to do it out of your strengths and the strengths of the situation. And so I have a football post up there to remind me, if the goal is to score points in the football game, they're going to cheer just as loud for the person that passes the football down and makes the touch and passes it to someone that hands it to someone else so they can run it in, or whether they run it in themselves. It's 6 points all the same. Nobody says, well, the pass was prettier than the run. Well, they should. Because what the goal is to get the points. And you can get ugly points and they still put them on the board the same way. So there isn't any one best way to do things. People go through leadership programs looking for the right answer. Just tell me, how do you handle this? It was surprising to me when I started going from this seat to this one. People would say to me, just tell me what to do. I'm like, it depends, and it makes them angry. What do you mean it depends? Well, it depends on what they said, it depends on what you're doing, it depends on this. You know, there isn't any one right way. So the second thing is that everything you do is a judgment call. By the way, which is also tiring. After my first year as a school administrator, I went with my family on a vacation. I said to them, honestly, I don't care where we go, how long, what we do, where we stay, what we eat, I don't care. My vacation is making no decisions. So I will not complain if we end up eating McDonald's 3 times a day and all we do is drive down the road for 12 hours. Whatever you decide is okay with me, because I have to stop making decisions for a little while. That's all I'm doing all day is deciding, making judgment calls. Should I call his mother? Should I send him back to the classroom? Should I? All day long. On the other hand, again, it's the merry-go-round horse. I also have the opportunity to make a difference on every one of those judgments. If I call his mother, what's going to happen? If I send him back to the teacher, how can I make that situation better? So in each of those opportunities, each of those judgment calls, there is a chance to make things better. It's tiring, but it's really, really meaningful and worthwhile thing to do. So if everything's a judgment call, do your homework doesn't mean read your textbook. Do your homework means you better know what's going on. If I'm going to send him back to his teacher, I had better know whether the teacher had pushed the buttons to make this happen in the first place. Because if I send him back to the teacher and the teacher's having a bad day, now I've got a teacher that's angry at the student and angry at me and going to take it out on the student. I need to know what's going on in that classroom. I need to know if I'm going to call mother, is mother going to beat the child? Because that's going to make a difference on how I handle what's going to go on and how I may have to call her, but how and what I say may make a difference if I've done my homework. In any of the decisions that I make, usually the decision is to call somebody, ask somebody, talk to somebody about it. And it continues. I mean, this morning I was choosing the textbook I was going to use for my class in the spring, and I went into Dr. Garnett and I said, what do you think? This is what, why? Because she had taught the class, these same people in the class last semester. I wanted to know from her expertise. We constantly have to do our homework. We are not the Lone Ranger that rides in, saves the day, and rides out again. That's not what emotional intelligence is all about. Voice in your head that talks to you about what it is that you're going to do or how you process what's going on is the one that you're going to work on to be good at self-awareness. The second piece, remember after self-awareness was self-responsibility. We're going to take a break here. This little video, if you want to break during the video, you may, and then we're going to have about 3 more minutes after the video. I want to talk about self-responsibility. Self-responsibility is taking charge of what owning it. But, but it also has this whole thing about being able to tell yourself no or to tell yourself wait. They did this that's not what I want. They did this experiment at Stanford years ago, and you probably have seen it somewhere in your teaching career, but I want to, come on now, what are you doing? Yeah, here we go.
What can a marshmallow tell you about your kids?
Nothing. What was that?
What can a marshmallow tell you about?
All right. Sorry he's going to be buzzing. We tried to do the sound and it wasn't good. The marshmallow test was meant to talk about, can people delay gratification? Can they say, I really want that new car. I'm going to save my money up for the next 2 years and get a new car so that my debt is down when I get it. Or am I going to go in and get the high debt because I want that car right now? If there was one thing that I would like to teach the American public, this is it. We don't delay gratification. If we have a pain, there is somebody on TV that says there's 6 different kinds of medications to buy to make the pain go away. We don't have enough of this ability to delay gratification. Do not go home and try this on your children tonight. It will drive you crazy. All right, we're going to watch it. It's about a 5-minute video. If you want to get up right now and see this later, this is also on tonight's webpage.
Your kids.
Psychologists at Stanford found that kids who could hold off eating one of these did better at school and in life. So we set up our own marshmallow test to see what would happen and what parents could learn about teaching our children self-control.
Okay.
What is that?
It's a marshmallow.
But it's not just a marshmallow.
Do you like marshmallows?
Yeah, it's what's going to make the next 15 minutes feel like 15 hours for the kids at the Edina Family Center.
You can either eat this marshmallow now.
I need that marshmallow now.
Well, let me tell you what the deal is. So you can either eat it now or wait until we come back and you'll get 2.
I want 2.
Dr. David Walsh is a big fan of the original marshmallow test research. He wrote about it in his book, No, Why Kids of All Ages Need to Hear It and Ways Parents Can Say It.
The genius of the experiment, however, was that they followed those children for 18 years. And Amelia, the ability to wait for the second marshmallow was an amazingly strong predictor of their success in school, their adjustment, their happiness, even their popularity.
What does it mean when a child does eat the marshmallow?
We're not predicting that any of these kids are going to be either good at self-discipline or not. What we really want to do is help parents try to figure out how can we help our kids develop more self-discipline, because we do know from a ton of research that that is a key success factor for kids, the ability to say no to themselves.
Hi, Lily. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Lily gets the deal right away.
When I come back, what am I going to have?
Another
marshmallow.
In a room with few distractions, she waits and waits and waits.
15 minutes is a long time
It
for
is.
a child.
It's a very long time for a 4-year-old. 15 minutes is a real long time.
In the next room, Lily's mom watches with Dr. Walsh.
Surprised she's lasted this long. It's coming up on dinner time.
Lily surprises her mom and even herself.
And I smelled the marshmallow. I thought I would eat it, but I didn't.
Should I give you another marshmallow?
Yeah.
Absolutely, because that was the deal. Okay, very good.
He gave me 2 marshmallows.
Of the 11 kids who took part, 4 ate the marshmallow within the first minute. Among them, 3.5-year-old Casey.
Your mom and I are going to go on a errand now. You can either eat one or wait.
I cannot eat one, okay?
That's whatever you decide is fine.
Okay, very good.
Casey kept his word.
Bye-bye, buddy.
I'm not.
11 seconds later, the marshmallow is history. Now it's his twin brother Nathan's turn.
So you can either have 1 or
2.
2.
It looks like Nathan wants to have his marshmallow and eat it too.
I think we can play with it this much.
For 15 minutes, he touches and licks the marshmallow. He even holds it inside his mouth.
Yeah, what does eat?
Eat exactly mean? Now, I didn't really bite into it.
Define eat.
It's tempting to keep watching these kids with the marshmallow, but that's not what this story is really about. So, what can parents do to help their kids develop self-discipline?
It's the kid's job to push against the limits. It's our job to set the limits.
So we have to be consistent then, because if we're
Absolutely
saying
important.
this is, you do this, then this is what's going to happen.
Exactly.
And once you don't do that and you don't follow through, then it's
And they
like
learn a
starting
lesson.
over again, right?
Exactly. Or if I say, no, you can't have the candy bar, and then 10 seconds later I'm giving them the candy bar, what they're learning is no doesn't mean no. No just means escalate, and I'll get what I want.
It's simple, but not easy.
Prior generations had a culture that supported the message of no. What's difficult today is that we have a culture that undermines the message. We have a culture that says more, fast, easy, fun.
A culture that says, eat the marshmallow.
The short-term relief of giving kids what they want, we pay a long-term price for that.
Turns out the agony of waiting for the marshmallow or a computer game or a car might actually help your child.
We all know that life does deal challenge, frustration, and disappointment. Well, we want our kids to be able to handle that. Well, how will they be able to handle that if they don't get practice?
Dr. Walsh says, in the marshmallow test and in life,
I waited.
You did wait, didn't you? And now?
good things come to those who can wait.
It seemed like a long time.
Dr. Walsh has launched a movement called Say Yes to No, and it's all about saying no to your kids and teaching them to say no to themselves. Of course, it's just as important to catch your kids doing the right thing and acknowledging it.
Okay, so they talked quite a bit here about saying no and that type of thing. I want to turn it on its head and talk about us saying it to ourselves, being able to say no or wait to ourselves. It isn't always just about limit setting, but it's how do you wait? How do you wait? What did the little girl do so that she didn't eat the marshmallow? She smelled it. She looked around. She swung around. Yeah, there's lots of these up online. If you get tired of watching cat videos, you can watch marshmallow tests. And
So keep busy is what
the
you're saying.
kids got busy in some way. Some would sing to themselves, kick their feet. Many of them would turn themselves around so they weren't looking at the marshmallow. Okay, so those were things with the marshmallow, but what if it isn't a piece of cake or a marshmallow that we're looking for, but we want to go out and do something that we know against our better judgment we shouldn't be doing? What's the replacement activity that we put in that place? Because the kid that had the hardest time to me was the kid that was putting the marshmallow in his mouth. That was,
He didn't eat
and
it.
making himself have that much willpower. The girl that turned her back to it didn't take quite as much willpower to have that. So self-responsibility partially is self-control, but that's not all of it. We're going to have about 3 more minutes of break, so in 3 more minutes I'll be picking up where I left off. I say 3 more minutes. Isn't that lovely how you had none? But I'm like, 3 minutes.
So what happened to the original study? Like what happened to the people who got older? What was the results?
They actually were finding difference between their income level, their education level, all kinds of things that I don't know if we were to, I mean, they found a big difference. So what happens is parents all ran home and said, okay, baby, here's your marshmallow. You know, because, you know.
They took it too literally.
You know, they took one incident and said that's defining. I mean, and it doesn't. I mean, maybe they're just extra hungry, or marshmallows they can't resist. But if you had a chocolate bar, they would have. You know, that type of thing. So you can't read too much into it. But the reason that it actually got to have as much play, anything else, is the long-term effects.
But the important part of the test study was the concept of
I can control myself.
controlling yourself.
Yeah, I can delay gratifying myself. I don't have to have it right now. And I can also say, I mean, I would do this with students over time. I'd do things that I'm like, okay, we're gonna get points for whatever we're doing. At the end of the day, you can turn in your points and your point will get you a Jolly Rancher. But if you save all your points till the end of the week, at the end of the week, you could have a large candy bar. And it was doing the same thing. You could tell the kids, but those kids needed the Jolly Rancher that day just to say, hey, I was good today, I did it. And so they couldn't wait till Friday.
What do you think about the boy that he put it in his mouth and said, what kind of kid is, I mean, like, I don't know, I kept trying to think about what that would remind me of as in an adult situation and maybe even kid situation.
Well, it's like, it's putting your toe in the water. I'm trying it, or those middle school kids who kind of try to do whatever it is, but they try to just not get up to the line of, I'm being bad, but I'm not really being
They do
bad,
just
you
enough
know.
not to get in trouble.
Just enough not to get in trouble type of things too.
Versus the other one was like, those are the other twin, who just like, yeah, I'm doing it. At least he knows what he's gonna do.
He knew it before the guy ever got the sentence out of his mouth.
He was like,
That's it.
And even after he explained, he's like, I'm gonna eat it.
Yep.
Just so you know. It's gonna
Just
be
so you
on.
know, you might as well not even leave, because I'm eating it now. But again, you put something like Maslow on top of that. If there's a starving child, as opposed to one that's just finished their lunch, you're gonna get a different response.
Yeah. So I'm guessing in the original study they had a more.
They'd have to control it.
My daughter's class does dojo.
Well, I've heard of that.
And
That's cool.
she is saving her points for lunch with the teacher.
Yep.
Instead of something small along the
Yep.
way. She has to save up 50 points.
Wow.
And so she's watching like every day. Oh, I didn't put points in today. You know, very much.
I mean, I see that Walgreens. We have rewards points for like, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some customers that are like,
Spend it up, spend it up. Yep.
you know, they're like, oh, I have $2. Oh, let's spend it. And then I have some people that they got like $35. Nope, I'm saving it. So oh, I'm saving it for a rainy day when I don't have any money. You know. So I'm like, oh, that's good.
Except what happened to me at Walgreens. I went in and I was putting myself back and I didn't have my credit card with me, so I was gonna have to get in my purse and get out the money and all that kind of thing. And they said, we have points. I said, oh, good. Okay, so it was like $25, and so I used the points. And then I walked out and went, I don't have $25 worth of points at Walgreens. I used all my mother's points. I go, Mom, here's $25 because I spent all your Walgreens points tonight.
That's so nice. At least you replaced it.
Well, she's happy because she can spend it on anything now. She didn't even spend it at Walgreens. And I'm happy because I didn't have to break down and get the money out of my purse at that point, so it all worked.
So how do you keep this?
Yes. Or channel your mind on some other way. There's people that have little mind games they play with themselves, that type of thing, you know. But like she's talking about what her daughter was doing. She knows when the date is. And like there's people that cross it off the calendar, or you know, make small rewards along the way so that they can get the large reward. Okay, I'm not going to eat the cake now, but I'll tell you what. When I lose this amount of weight, we're going out for dessert that night. You know.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna use that one.
Social competence is on that other side over here. You know, we were talking over here that's all about self-awareness and I can control myself. Social competence over here is talking about how can I influence others. And there's people that just do it and you can't even recognize. You're like, wow, they're like the Pied Piper. Everybody just kind of gravitates toward them, and they've just got this way about them. And I wish I were like that. But there are actual skills that we can think about to be better at this. But I do say there are people that are more born with this than others. I'm going to tell you about my nephew that Evan is in pre-med at Indiana University right now. So this is an old story. He was 3 years old at the time. And I told his dad that night, I said, this boy's going to be successful. It doesn't really matter what he decides he goes into, he's going to be successful. We were at a family wedding, and my job was to cut the wedding cake. I always seem to get the job of cutting the wedding cake. His job that night was to be in the ring bearer. So we're at the reception and I'm cutting the cake and Evan goes and gets his little piece of cake and he's carrying it over and he turns around to the room like that, you know, with all the tables, and you can just see, you know, you can see the wheels work in kids' mind. You can see he's trying to figure out where to sit. And he looks around and he sees a table where other people, you know, are up dancing and chatting and doing this, and over here are 3 bridesmaids sitting by themselves. Nobody's asked them to dance. Now, Evan's 3, he doesn't. He goes over to that table, he plops his cake down on the table, he sits up, gets up on the table, and he says, "So, what sports team is your favorite?" Now, what? What does that have to do with anything? Well, before 10 minutes was up, those 3 girls were on the dance floor with Evan. Because he understood at 3 years old what Cialdini says to us. And Cialdini says, when you walk into the room, to influence people, you don't say, let's see who can help me, and I'm going toward you. You say, who can I honestly advantage? Who can I help? And that's who I go toward. And that's where the influence starts. Now, what goes around comes around. Evan did his practicum last summer at an inner city clinic in one of the worst neighborhoods in Indianapolis. And so he was there for, I don't know, 8 to 10 weeks, something like that. And he did the same thing. He would help, you know, hold the baby while the mother was with the other kid, or, you know, have all those conversations with people about, you know, you need to go to the dentist because, and all these interpersonal things, because that's his thing. He understands this thing. The day he went to leave, the people at that clinic had found out that he was going to college and was going to have this apartment. He'd never had an apartment before. They got him a book bag, bookcase. They got him a beanbag chair. They got the mountain of things that Evan got that day. The rest of his family's like, you know, people wanted to pay back and let him know that he mattered in their lives, not because he was telling them about himself, but because he made himself essential to them. And that then they could see that his giving was selfless. So when you say things like people skills, that sounds kind of cold, and how do I improve my people skills? Well, 3-year-old Evan could have gone over and sat with his friends, and the girls could have continued to sit over in the corner, and they probably got up and danced. But they still love Evan today. You know, they can't tell you that he made them feel better when they were alone. But that's what it is. That's what it's about. It's not about how you make me feel about how we feel about one another. It's how do I make you feel about you? I work with first-year teachers all the time, and they're always like, well, I don't know if my hair was right today, and I think they like me, and like, it's not about you, but it's all about you. It's all about how you make them feel about themselves, not how you make them feel about you. If they walk out of your class feeling more able to do things, they will love you because you made that happen. If you make it all about you, and if the relationship is transactional, again, going back to our, you know, we're transactional. I do nice things for you, so you do nice things for me. They're going to get compliance. But when you really want people to follow you into places they really didn't want to go, that kind of power, that referent power, comes from them feeling good about themselves because you're there. You're a catalyst for them feeling better about themselves.
So like empowering them?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's just raising their awareness. I mean, sometimes you don't actually have to give them any power. Sometimes you just make them appreciate themselves better or notice things about themselves better. So, emotional intelligence, to wind it up. Emotional intelligence is focused on changing yourself, because you can control you. But when things are going bad, and you really want to change them because they're driving you nuts, then you're going to say, first of all, I'm going to think about how can I approach this differently? Can I use a different way of explaining what's going on? Can I disengage from it? Can I walk away and ignore it? Can I use a better communication technique so that they understand it? Can I tell them a story, show them a picture of what's happening? You know, any of these things ends up giving you better feelings about yourself too, because again, you can control yourself, and you can, if you have self-awareness, you are aware when you're able to delay gratification or help someone else have to get a conflict down. So you know you're always going to have conflicts, but you make them so that they're livable conflicts. What happens when people try to figure out what's going on is they make what's called the fundamental attribution error. Attribution is where, and by the way, this is probably the most missed definition in the whole test. Attribution is, we're going to put the finger on where the problem is, okay? We got a problem, I attribute this to, okay? The fundamental, the basic mistake that people make, so now I said fundamental, that's basic, error is the mistake they make. In saying where the problem is when they say that the problem is other people, okay? My team did not get the report turned in. They didn't get all the work done for this big report we're working on, and they failed. Do you know why they failed? All they can think about is how soon they can get out of here on Friday and how long is their coffee break. They just are lazy, good for nothing people that, you know, I have to force them to do anything. And here it was, they failed. When people blame others, they usually, the mistake they make is in blaming it on the way the people are internally. They're lazy. They don't care. They're mean. You see, it's all internal, you know. Well, what's the problem with that? I can't make people unlazy. I can't fix lazy. So if that's true, I'm stuck. When they turn the blame onto themselves and say, you know what, I didn't get that report done on Friday. Do you think they say the same thing? I didn't get the report done Friday because I only care about my coffee break. I only care about going home early on Friday. I am just lazy, lazy, lazy. Is that what they say about themselves? Oh no. They say, well, I didn't get it done because my team didn't do what they were supposed to. The boss didn't tell me what that it was to do that time. The sun was in my eyes. I was not feeling very good that day. They blame everything around them when, okay, so that's self-serving. Self, you messed up. The bias is everything around me caused it. Here's an example of the fundamental attribution error. Okay, I'm attributing it to someone else, right? I think we're a dysfunctional duo. Well, what should we do? Change. How? You change first. We'll see if it solves our problems. Well, what part should I change? All the parts I don't like. Well, how will I know which those parts are? Fine. I'll make a list of all your faults and number them 1 through 10. Well, what if that doesn't solve the problem? Well, then at least we'll say we tried. But I'll be the one who's tried. How can you say you tried? Number 1, argumentative. The thing about the fundamental attribution error is if we're doing it backwards. When we're saying the team did it wrong, the team did the thing backwards. Instead of saying, look what bad people those people, look at those bad people, they didn't do it was right. I can't fix that. But if they're interested in coffee breaks and coffee breaks motivates them, I can change when the coffee break is and what kind of coffee they get. You know, if they get their report in on time, we'll have specialty coffee. Okay, it's a hygiene factor, but maybe if that's what they care about, that's what will work. Jim Collins calls this the mirror and the window. That when you look out the window and say, hey, the problem's them, and you say the problem is them, then what you need to change is what's out there in their environment. You're going to try to influence them. You may change the environment, you may change the punishments, you may change the rewards, but you're going to change, you aren't going to just say, hey, look at those bad people, they're doing what's wrong, okay? When you're looking in the mirror, okay, and the problem's me, oh man, I'm a mess, I messed up. That's not the time to say, well, look, this is my excuse, and this is my excuse, and this is my excuse. I need to look in the mirror and say, what can I control better about myself? What can I change about me? So people that have self-serving bias and fundamental attribution error, to fix it, they got to turn it on its head. When I think the problem's other people, I've got to think about their environment and not blame it on their personalities and so forth. When I think the problem is me, I need to look inside and look at that personality and not blame it on everything in the environment. And every once in a while, you end up with a really difficult person. I mean, generally, you can use your best common sense and things work out. But every once in a while, you work with somebody who is really, really, really difficult. And they're always really, really, really difficult. This graphic here, I think, got stuck into your handout. That's the next one, that's the culture handout, I believe, when I look today. You have that circle up in the corner there, but it's someplace weird, and I think it's in the other handout. You don't need it for right now, but it's something you might want to have for the future. That comes from a book called How to Deal with People You Can't Stand, which is not a book you put on your desk, but it's a book you buy, because when you're in one of those situations, you are in constant cognitive dissonance. You are in constant felt and displayed emotional labor, because the person that you're dealing with is so difficult. What the theory of this says is that we all have 4 things that we want, and they're in the center of the circle. We want to do things because we want to get it right, we want to get it done, we want to get along, and we want to get appreciated. We all want those things. And all of us do some things for those reasons. There are some of us, however, that go out into the darker blue zone that's out around there, which is kind of dysfunctional of that. People that really want to get it right all the time, so bad that if they make a mistake, they have to start all over again. And they can't just cross out the word, they've got to actually start with a clean piece of paper. Those perfectionists, it becomes to be a problem. If it's too much getting it right, if it's too much getting along, then you do anything for approval. I'm going to do something, I know it's bad, I know I shouldn't be doing it, but the rest of the gang's doing it, so I'm going to do it too. You know people like that. People that have too much of getting appreciated are attention getters. Look at me, I gotta, People that are too much, get it done, want to control everything. All of us go out into the blue zones sometimes. The nice thing is we come back again. The problem becomes those people that don't have good emotional intelligence, that they think they're good because they're so bad, they don't even recognize it. They're clear out at the very outside, and they've got some really ugly names for them, but sometimes when you name a pain, it helps you minimize it. And so this is called the lens of understanding, and this is what the categories of the difficult people are. People that want to control all the time. This book calls them rulers. They call them the tanks. They're just going to bulldoze over everybody, no matter what. Okay, the sniper who sits back and every once in a while comes out and zings you. The know-it-all. They want to control everything. The entertainers, the relators, the analyzers. I'm not going to go through each one of these, but if you've got one of those in your life, there are sets of skills that you can actually sit and make 3, 5 little keywords that you write on your hand or you put inside your notebook or you put on your phone to remind you how to deal with this. And I'm going to give you one. I'm going to talk to you about how you deal with a sniper because that's one of the hardest ones. A know-it-all, you know what you do with a know-it-all? You interrupt them with, that's a great idea, even if it was the most hideous thing you ever heard in your life. That's a great idea. I'm so glad you brought that up because that made me think of, and then you just bridge it on to whatever else the topic really was. You just told the know-it-all, hey, you're important. You made me think of something. If you really want to be help with know-it-all, you also use their words back to them. Oh, when you said the sun is orange and green, that made me, okay, so if they just said that, even I don't have to use that to talk about the green sun, but they heard their words coming back to them. Remember that the know-it-all wants to be an entertainer. In other words, that what they're really wanting is to be noticed and appreciated. Okay, so when I said their words back to them, snipers are tough. Snipers sit there, they're in the faculty lounge, and they're eating their lunch with the rest of you, and all of a sudden they say something under their breath that you can't quite hear, that it was rude, and you know it by the way the snickers are around what they said. You can't let it go. Sometimes the snipers are actually say things that are crude and rude. And sometimes they just say things that are belittling. So I'm up in front and I'm giving my presentation. And right in the middle of my presentation, the sniper says something that's, I'll go with sexist tonight. I did racist last year when I did this. So this time I'm doing sexist. It says something very sexist. If I just get red and pretend it didn't happen and go on and just know that this occurred, that person's just won, because what's the sniper want? They want to be controlling. They've controlled me. They've got what they wanted. And they didn't even have to put themselves out very much because I didn't confront them back. What's a sniper want to do? Think about a sniper, where do they do? They hide. So how do you stop a sniper? You don't let him hide. I know you'd never say anything sexist to me, so I'm going to use you as my example. So if I make you uncomfortable, I'm glad, but I know it's not you. You're my pretend person. Devin, I just heard you say, and I'm going to repeat back what you just said. When you say, I'm going to repeat it back again. What do you really mean? What do they say usually? Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh, really? Yeah, that was funny? What's funny about? I'm going to say that thing again. You're going to have to explain that to me as a joke. I don't really understand that. What's funny about? I'm going to say it again. Why do I keep saying the rude thing over and over again? You ever have a little kid that tells you a joke and everybody in the room laughs? What do? They say it again. Everybody goes, they say it again. Everybody's like, oh, okay, I get it. The fifth time they're like, why isn't any, but it wears off, doesn't it? The sniper said it to be shock value. When I'm saying it back to the sniper, I'm wearing it off. Every time I say it, I'm wearing it off. You don't have me, and there is no shotgun. Now, if it is totally racist or four-letter words or that kind of thing, of course, in education, we aren't gonna say those things right back to their faces. But frankly, if we could and did, it would, the shock reflects back to the sniper. And you don't let it go. They'll say eventually, you can't take a joke, or they will resort to being a tank and they will attack. And then when you do attack, with it, you go into your attack, you go into how you handle a tank. That person's not gonna snipe me again, because if they do, did you have something else to say? He can't see, he don't like me looking at him even, you know? And he didn't do anything. Nothing is more important, even if I just finished I'm in the middle of my most important point in my speech, nothing is more important than getting rid of that problem. Because what you ignore, you accept. And that means you're going to continue to accept it. When you hear that racial slur down the hall back behind you, they know you heard it and you keep right on walking and don't give them the evil eye on it, you've accepted it and you're part of the problem. It doesn't mean you have to go and, what did you say? You shouldn't, you don't have to go and confront everything. But you can, in subtle ways, let people know you don't accept things. So what happens when you have one of these people? Grenades are people that go along happily and all of a sudden they just explode. So everybody tiptoes around them all the time and make sure that nothing happens bad around them because you don't know if they're going to explode. What do you do with them? You don't let their explosion upset anybody or anything. I had a student that did that. We all knew that that was time for the restroom break, even if we had one 5 minutes before. If you're gonna, okay, you're falling apart, we're gonna go do something that we like and you like better than whatever it is, and you can continue and have your little party in here. There are things that you can do for all of these, whether they're your boss, your peer, your employee, or you. And so there are skills that you can get to be better at dealing with difficult people. First of all, you say to yourself, is it worth it? Again, self-awareness, right? I'm going to make that between the event and my response. I got a second. I've got a breath. And I will tell you that in discipline, what we often do is we do not take time. And time is on our side when we're disciplined. When I was doing my little pretend thing, I asked the question, I said, what do you mean by that? And then I waited. What am I doing while I'm waiting? I am thinking as fast, I'm that duck that looks calm above the water and I'm spinning underneath and I'm paddling as hard as I can. I'm thinking, what if he says this? What if he do that? In my brain, he's going. But while that time is waiting, they also have time to decide how they're going to respond. And it becomes uncomfortable. And guess who's uncomfortable? You. You have a child that just misbehaved, and you put them in the seat in the office, and you say, I have to think about this one. I'll get back to you. They're wondering what you're coming up with all the time. You may be trying to figure it out, but just the anxiety of waiting. You aren't waiting for a marshmallow, that's for sure. So slowing it down and giving yourself time, and during that time, say, you know what? He ate a marshmallow. How big of a case am I going to make over a marshmallow? You know, aim it always to the positive direction. You can always give people positive intent. You have the angry parent come in to see you, and you can start the conversation by, how glad you are that they care enough about their child and care enough about what's going on to come and discuss it. They may not have been they may be coming in here to cause a fuss, and they don't really, the welfare of their child is not to the forefront. But by you couching it in that term and saying, I'm so glad that you're an advocate for your child and that you're caring about your family, that's so important, they're gonna say, no, I don't care about my child, I'm just here because I'm mad about what happened at work yesterday, and I'm gonna let myself vent on you. They're gonna take the positive intent. So give it to them. Give them the positive intent. Say, look, and what did it hurt you to say, thank you for doing something good? You didn't lose anything, but you might have gained them to actually take on the goodness that you've given to them. When you got somebody that's difficult, you keep it in front of you. If I have a sniper that's constantly working with me, I'm going to have a code word that I have someplace that I look at that reminds me what to do. When I work with a tank, I know that I have to be fast, I have to be direct. If I go and go, well, if you just have a few minutes, I'd like to talk to you about, maybe I could have you lost them already. When you're dealing with a person that is confrontational, you're going to start by matching it. If they're standing, you stand. If they're loud, you're loud. You don't have to yell if they're yelling, but you match, and then you cycle yourself down a little bit and back a little bit. You don't come in, if they're coming in hot and loud, you don't come in soft and reasonable, or they see you as being wimpy. That's what the tank sees you as, is wimpy. You also come in strength to strength, and then you try to start scaling down and bringing them down with you. You don't get in their face and make, if they're, you don't want to end up being hit or something like that. But I'm just saying, you don't try to change them by being exactly opposite of what they are.
Question.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I was thinking that, so you don't think that, like, staying really quiet and calm with someone who's loud and boisterous is effective? Because when, I don't know, I've observed that sometimes that's effective.
If you've done your homework and you know it, but I'm talking about somebody you don't know, this is the situation that's going on. Okay, and I'm sitting here and I say, Mrs. Johnson, I can see that you're very upset. Okay, if she's come in for battle, I have just put myself in victim in her eyes. I do not, if she comes in yelling at me, I'll come back and, what are you coming in here for? I mean, you don't match. But if she's coming in standing up, I'm not going to continue to sit down. I'm going to stand as well. If she's sitting down, I'm not going to stand there and talk to her. I'm going to mirror and model what I'm going to, if she's here, I'm going to speak, look at her face on, be not abrupt and abrasive, that type of thing, but I'm not going to try to be real. Because if they are a tank, they just see that they're winning, they're controlling you, you are gentle and soft, and they can push you around. And so you want to be not aggressive, but you want to have enough assertiveness so that that person sees a strength in you as well. They appreciate control and getting it done, and so they are not going to appreciate too much softness. You can work yourself down in a sentence or two to that, but show them some backbone, not meanness, but some backbone that you're here for their child too, or whatever that thing is. I'm so glad that you came in. We both care about the educational success of your child. And it's good that we can sit down together and maybe have some conversation about this is the plan, and okay, so I'm not going down to maybe, and we're sitting down and I'm pulling it back, but I don't start there. And maybe a word or a sentence or a body language. That's this model. But again, you got to know your people, you got to know your community, you got to know your cultures, you got to know how did the people handle it before you. A lot of times, number 8, we bury ourselves under what did I do, how did, and it's not about you at all. They're upset. I cannot tell you the number of times that I've been concerned about graduate students, and I'm thinking, man, we do not have the relationship that I was hoping we were gonna have, and then a semester or a year later, they come back and they say, I was going through a really bad time at that point. This and this and this and this was happening in my life. And I didn't even realize it myself that this is, can I come back and, well, sure, come back, we'll, you know, resurrect those credits, get going. A lot of times it has nothing to do with you. We always think it's all about us. That's why I talk to my new teachers about, it's all about you in you can control yourself. But a lot of times what they're bringing to you is they're telling you they're angry with you, but they're really that one-off. They're not angry, they're afraid, or they're grieving and sad, or something else, and they're expressing it as anger toward you. And you just keep giving yourself more chances. You know, that's a nice thing. There's another day, there's another way. If it's totally a toxic person, you limit your availability to them, for them to ruin your day and your life as much as you can, and you just keep on working and think about each one of those experiences as just giving you that much more ability to work with the next person and do an even better job with them. Again, the book is called How to Deal with People You Can't Stand. It's an older book, but I have never found one where you can go in and read in 5 pages and come up with 3 strategies that helps you when you're just banging your head against the wall on some of these. Really, really, and the authors are, I think, Brinkman and Kirshner is their name. I talk about a lot of authors. I talk a lot about books. That's one I would buy. That's one I would buy because we always have some that come up, and you know, if it's your next door neighbor, whatever those things are, there's going to be somebody like that in your life, and it's good to have something to go to on those very few times when you need to. So, prizes to award this evening. So find your card. All right. Here we go. I'm ready to scan. Boy, I'm crossing my fingers on this one because you know, if you really want a faculty to understand something, you have to tell them 7 different times and in 7 different ways. And I hope I have. So we'll see what's coming across here. Okay, the theory is meant to explain and predict. Explain and predict. Explain what is going on, what has gone on, and then predict what you should do next in a situation. Here we go. Let's go back to this one. That's the bad thing about clickers. You can't change your mind because once it's up, and there it goes. Okay, organizational realms, where the one looks like yin and yang. There's 2 realms. One's administrative and the other is teacher. And stability is what administrators are going for, the administrators are going for stability, the teachers are looking for growth and change. Okay? All right, new one. Vocabulary one.
I haven't shown up yet. I haven't shown up yet.
Got it? All right. All of those two-dimensional things, one of them has to do with getting the job done right, okay? And that's always across the bottom of them. So structure is getting the job done right, okay? What always goes up the side? Dealing with people in some way. So I'm looking up there for the one that has the closest, so that's taken out time and task completion, and consideration is the other term. Maturity is a red herring, it's a word we're using, and it's gonna come up here in a question in a little bit, but, so that's why it's good to play one question against another, because sometimes you'll figure out the next question because of what the last one was. Here we go. All right. Punishments is it's coercive. Coercive works. Fear works. What's the problem with it works? It's not nice, but what else is the problem with always going after coercive? Well, especially if you didn't spell it right.
It's
Short term. So remember, punishments and rewards are good for short term, but you're going to go to other kinds of power to go over a long period of time. Okay, let's go on some of these things tonight. Yes, I'm one of those teachers that plays not. When you see not, what's that mean? 3 of them are right answers. So 3 of those, well, some of them are better than others. So now I'm down to saying a couple of those are wrong answers because it is. Self-awareness is what? It's useful and it's insightful. So now I'm down to blaming and rare. You see how I'm talking through, doing a talk aloud. Again, this is how you teach people to take a test. You do talk aloud types of things. And 90% of our people knew that it's not blaming. It's not blaming. Hope you're marking down your score, because I have it, but I'm not going to be telling people what it is. Okay, once again, when you see your name, you keep holding it up.
I don't know why that's not right. There we go.
I
I've
don't know
shaped it.
why it's registering. You're having trouble registering yours too. I don't know if there's a finger over the corner or what. There, as soon as you move it, go. All right. There is no one right way. Is equifinality. What's the second part of that? There is no one right way, so everything is a judgment call. It says there's no one right way, I've gotta figure out each time and make a judgment call. So, if I have to make a judgment call, I better do my homework, okay? So you better know what you're doing before you make those decisions. Ooh, hard one. Yeah, I'm one of those teachers too that do both A and B. Again, why do teachers do that? Because then they don't have to think of two answers.
So true.
Self-serving bias says that you think that the problem lies within yourself, okay? So they excuse themselves. What if they blame others? What's that called? Not that they blame them, but when they blame them, they say the reason is their inner traits, the way they are. That's called the fundamental attribution theory. Okay? All right, we'll go back to B. I'm sorry, it was D. I get excited sometimes and look at my little screen. All right. Obviously, it's not D because D fell off the end of the page, but it's not D anyway, so don't put up a D.
You're not either.
You got your hands on your fingers.
Oh, now you got him, but not mine.
Put your fingers on.
There we go, okay.
Yeah, it's, I
There we
think
go.
sometimes when you put your finger in front of part of the symbol, it doesn't show up.
You also have, you can't laminate these
You
either.
cannot laminate them because the
Like if
shiny.
you were to have this in your classroom, if you can't laminate.
That's why I just make another set, because you can just run them off for no cost, so, you know, even if you had to put out a new set every day, it's better than that, okay. What's fifth discipline?
That's Sengi.
Singy, what was that about? Let's see. Oh, I remember mental models is in the middle of that thing with the bear and the bird and all that stuff.
See, and I thought that was
You thought it was a cat, I know.
I looked up the paw prints. Oh, so I looked and I went, it was a cat and a bird.
But I never get two dinosaurs unless I do it with first graders. Then I can get two dinosaurs. But I always get the bear and the bird. This is the situational contingency. If you kind of look, it's the weeks. First week was traits, then we did behaviors, and then we did situational or contingency theory, response to situation, decision making, work.
And the answer A?
And you say
Awesome.
A, but you can't, but you're like, how can, wait a minute, you had A and you had A up there. Contingency theory is the decision making theory. Those two things we put all together in 1 week. That's why that's not a test question. That's why it's not a test question, because that's the way the book runs it, but that's not the way it makes sense to any of us. So, good for you for ferreting out the right answer. All right, here we go. I'm softening you up with this one, because this is the example that I gave tonight, because the next one's tough. But I wanted to show you, this is the kind of question some of my questions are on the test, because they have a little bit of application to it. It isn't just guessing. So displayed emotion. I'm displaying my stern face. Inside I'm laughing. I'm displaying something different. You might have thought of something else. What is the other term that you might have thought of for that? Emotional. Social skills might have worked, but emotional labor is the other true.
What was the right answer on that one?
Displayed emotion. Emotional labor is the same thing. When once you start to learn these theories and start to understand what they mean, you see them every place. You see them on the news, you see them in the presidential debates, you see them everywhere. And so this is something I saw happening, and I thought, oh, I got a letter from the president of the University of Nebraska talking about this particular incident and named both of those values. What was he feeling? Cognitive dissonance. Because he's got two things going on that conflict with him, and he has to make a decision. He can't do one or the other. Well, if he does, then can he do half of, it gets to be very tough over time. But what they decided was they went on the side of, what are you supposed to do? Side of free speech. Went on the side of free speech. But if you listen to them on the news, they'll say, I defended my country and I defend your right to free speech. And so they end up with that. Okay. Last one. Probably the trickiest one I wrote. I always write some bad ones. That's why I always give a bonus. Trickiest one. You're probably going to guess. Do your best guessing skill. Okay, before I tell you the answer, you are going to be looking at your points, so start adding up. But the answer to it is that you're going to match in contingency. The situation makes it change. And the other piece that's in that is the leadership. This is a leadership theory. And so your style. In this situation, remember just like the car situation, when we had dented cars out there. In the same situation, you could make a joke and everybody in the audience could laugh. And I could get up and tell the same joke and offend everybody. Because I tell jokes well. I tell stories well, but I tell jokes well. And I really offend you. So I'm going to match my style. If my style is storytelling, in the same situation that you might get up and tell a joke, I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to go after my style to match the situation. But there's some, if the situation is that we're having a tornado drill, telling the story is probably not a very good idea. Even if that's my story. Okay, everybody, I'll tell you about the last tornado warning that we had, So situational theory, you match, in contingency theory, you match the situational. You match the situation and your style. There is no one right way. Oh my gosh, they're all blending together. They do. They do. Explain yourself when you're doing these things, because sometimes what I say situational, you say contingency, those are both right. Sometimes if you explain what it is why you're doing the thinking that you're doing, you can get your credit back on that. I noticed quite a few little red marks as I went through tonight, and so some people, knowing that, know a little bit more about my test writing multiple choice style. The actual questions are different. But to give you a little help on that matching part, on tonight's webpage, on the emotional intelligence one, I had a student a few years ago go out on a website and make a set of flashcards, electronic flashcards. I put them up there.
They don't work though. If you click on them, it says error.
You can't get it?
No.
I will work on it. Again, when I'm going to put the video up tomorrow, I will work on the flashcards as well, because I have two ways of getting them. I have a paper
It just
way.
says the target page, not your target.
I have two ways of getting it. I may have attached the wrong cap.
But it says it's due to security reasons, so.
I got a second way of doing it. One way works and one way doesn't. I mess myself up. Anyway. So this is a test that things like flashcards and mnemonic devices and those kinds of things are helpful, because what you want to be able to do now is name the stuff so that you can start to use it, so later on we can use it a lot. So next week we are not meeting here, but there's a culture piece up, and there is one more thing that I have to show you before you go, and that is your second point for tonight. You got a point for just sitting through all my blab here tonight, but you also have a help for your classmates that you're going to do online. So you have been assigned a word to help your classmates study for this next test, and it's here on emotional intelligence. There are, by the way, some videos. There's the Phi Delta Kappa thing. There's the marshmallow test. Down here, and I'm hoping, Cindy, are you still on? Can you make sure you can get into the Padlet? Because I'm hoping.
Yeah, you can, when it comes up, it actually tells you to follow a link.
Yes, and you
Hyperlink.
and go to the hyperlink, and there you go. Okay, so you can see that Andrea is going to do houses, path, goal. What do you do when you get there? Well, I've got a few of them that I've got that. Okay, so for example, there's not enough of you to do all the words, so I left some of last year's people's words up there. You follow the link. It takes you off-site, and this is Padlet. Padlet allows you to create stuff online like a big sticky board. When you go in, you can see that this person typed things like at the top. You can type definitions and so forth. She got YouTubes. She went out and got images. She made a little poem. Anything that you can do to help your person so that when you go onto your page, all right, go back to my page. And I go down here, oh, went too far. And I go down here and I go to Hershey and Blanchard. Unfortunately, Devin, it's blank. I just must be picking on you tonight. How do you make this not blank? You double click on it. You get a box. You can type anything you want to up here. You can type anything you want to down here. You can even make a little video. You'll turn your webcam on and you can make a little video and talk. You can so what I tell people is go out and find your stuff. Some of it you may go in the book and just type out of the book, or take your camera and take a picture of something, or go online, go to the YouTubes and the images and the different things. And I'd like to see 3 different things, and at least one of them should be a good definition and or where you find it in the textbook or the PowerPoints or where you find it. So please give us a definition, please give us where to find more information, and then give us some other stuff that helps us understand this topic. Oh goodness, your topic is ampersand in the middle up there. It's weird. Anyway, you can also, as you're working, it will just keep making new boxes and new boxes. You see this, how it keeps making more boxes as you go through. And you may trash anything along the line that you don't like as you're going. There's a little trash can that you can trash. The nice thing, by the way, is this is a teaching tool, is it's open for a little while, like, I don't know, 7, 8 days or so. But after about 3 weeks, the longest I've ever seen it, it freezes. So that stuff from last year, from 2015, you can no longer go in and take it in and take it out. So if you as a teacher want to create these, then you can create them, and then after a while it's stuck, and then you can just use it as a teaching aid, and people can go in and click and do things. But in the meantime, it's a free program called Padlet, and you can go in and you can choose your background, and you can write the title in, and you can make as many of these as you want to, and so you can have a group work on it. What you cannot do is to say, we're all everybody on this side, you're going to work on this page. If you all open it up, you're going to blow its mind. That's why you each have a different background and a different page for that. I'd like to see these done by next Thursday night. Just spend 15 minutes at it. Don't spend an hour. You don't have an hour to spend on this, you know. But what you want is somebody that's desperate that goes, I don't know Theory Z. I never saw Theory Z before. Also, There are words on there that are open. If you want to look at that and go, ooh, I'll do that one too. If you want to do 2 extra words, they'll give you a point. Okay? So there's some open words on there, and if you want to do a couple of them, you're going to email me and say, hey, Dr. Kaiser, I see this and this. And in real time, as quickly as I can, I will get back to you, and I will put your name on it on the page so nobody else can take it too. Worst comes to worst, if we have 2 people doing the same word, I think we'll still benefit from it. Questions on the Padlet? Okay,
Are you going to post today's slideshow?
I am posting today's slideshow and I am posting today's video, both. And so, and I will apologize for some of the past ones. If I'm having trouble with their new program with videos attaching to my machine for some reason, I may put up last year's class. I will tell you if it is, but I say 95% the same things each year. I say it in a different order and tell a different story sometimes, but if I can't get a current video, I will get a last year's video. So if you're looking going, hey, I need some stuff on that Sankey stuff, I forgot. I will have that all up there this weekend as well.
The culture climate, did you say that's on the test or not?
It is on the test.
It is, okay.
It does not have really, if you go through and do the activities, you will probably have studied for it because the activities and the questions match very closely.
Okay.
Other questions I can help you with? Anything for the good of the team? Okay, remember your folder comes back to my bag. Don't forget to take the handouts and stuff out of the front. Everything in the front belongs to you. Keep your clicker. I don't know if we'll use clickers again or not, but keep a hold of it. And check with your teammate to see whether you won or you did not win. If you won, you get 2. If you were not the winner, you get 1. Have a great week. You betcha.
Wait, tonight if I got that last one right. Or, yeah, I almost chose that one.